Here we are. Welcome, everybody, to this month's Learn, Grow, Do, Repeat event. So excited to have you here with us. Matter of fact, do me a favor. If you're here with us, please, where are you listening from, watching from? Drop it in the comments. We want this conversation to be open. We want this conversation to be, full, and that requires you on the other end. Inevitably, without you, we could just jump on the phone. So I am the Leader Transition Institute Director of Communications. Some of you may know me as a radio DJ for Eagle Online Radio. Some of you know me because I like to type a lot on LinkedIn and share my thoughts. Regardless of where you know me from, today we're going to have a great conversation. Today we're going to talk about people mindsets. People mindsets are all about how we see others and how we experience that conversation, that interaction, and that relationship. And so we are going to talk about that and how we see others in particular. Do we see them as people? Do we see them as objects? Well, someone who is an expert in human dimension and human dynamics is with us today. He is the Vice President of Operations for the Leader Transition Institute. Needless to say, he is Mr. Awesome Sauce, Matt Sivacek. Matt, welcome to the show. Please talk to us about people mindsets.
Oh, goodness, Jose. All right. Favorite topic of mine. I absolutely have been studying, how we perceive really and how we see the world for almost 2 decades now. Wow, almost 2 decades. That's nuts. But, there's a couple of caveats I have here. My first is I absolutely love being on here with you, Jose. You're an incredible teammate and communications director, and I just can't say how much I appreciate you and everything you do for getting LTI's name out there. I mean, we are a 501c3 at the Leader Transition Institute, and we're here to really prepare and walk beside people who are making pivots in their lives. And that's why mindset is so important to me, because it impacts how we live today and in the future. Our flagship program is Changing Focus, Moving from We to Me. And we do that for our military members and veterans of any era, people retiring, spouses, Gold Star family members. We do that for them because when people transition out of the military, that's a substantial change in mindset, because they've been buried or immersed in that environment for so long. I was having a conversation with my wife today about being tired, right? And my wife's reminder to me was, you can't just soldier on. Sometimes you do have to take a knee. And that's a mindset, right? Soldiering on, pushing through. But when we go through Changing Focus, we're getting people to move from focusing on everybody but themselves to focusing on themselves. Mm-hmm. And then that created a little bit of a gap, right? Because I don't want to send you out the door being a narcissist. I want to send you out the door ready to be in the civilian environment and work with people. And so we do a follow-on book study on an incredible book by the Arbinger Institute called Leadership and Self-Deception. And it really gets to the point of the struggle that we have with how we tend to see people, or people mindset, as we call it at LTI. And so that's what I want to get into today. So let's kind of zoom out a little bit and think about this, right? So this is a rhetorical question, but feel free to answer, Jose, if you want to. Have any of you ever been looking for something, like your phone or your car keys, or even something in the refrigerator, and you were initially unable to find it? Mm-hmm. But Absolutely. Then when you finally found that thing, whatever it was, say your wallet, it was sitting in plain sight.
Guilty.
Okay. I haven't met a human yet that isn't guilty of that one, right? And so I don't know if you've ever asked yourself, but this is how some of this started for me. Why does that happen? I mean, literally, I see images go in, my brain processes them, if my wallet's in plain sight, I ought to see my wallet when I'm staring right at it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on? How is it possible for me to look so intently and still miss something so obvious?
Mm-hmm.
And what that does to me is it makes me wonder even more, right? Well, that's a stationary object. That's something simple. It's not moving around on me. What if it's an animate object, like an animal that has its own, determining factors and it's moving around? Or, man, God forbid, what if I'm trying to see a person or understand a person and I'm so intently doing it that I'm missing things about that person? I'm creating, my own image of them. And that's where that people mindset really kicked in. So what is mindset, right? I mean, that if it always helps to level the bubbles. And the way we define it is it's a subconscious series of attitudes or framework that's formed through our experiences that color or filter and adjust incoming information and affect how we perceive, how we interpret, and how we respond to situations, right? So that'd be people, the environment, my mindset, not finding my wallet, right? Going back to that example, I'm looking for my wallet. Part of me is like, I can't find my wallet. Therefore, now I can't find my wallet, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get that anxious push to try to, okay, I got to find it. It's got to be here. And you start looking faster and looking faster. And the problem is I'm not really looking. I just think I am because I'm relatively sure it's lost.
Right.
And so my mindset is it's lost instead of it's found. And so if any of you have ever done that, and sometimes we stumble across it, sometimes we get lucky. What I've found I had to do is I had to stop and go, okay, your wallet's not gone. It's here somewhere. Let's take a focused look at each area where I'm going to look, and then I will find it. And so I slow down and I really look at everything in an area. Because if you just look around your room, you'll miss 90% of what your eyes pass over.
Yeah.
Closer to 95%. It's the same when I'm looking for my wallet or my phone, right? And so, or my car keys that have been in my hand while I was looking for them. That one's embarrassing.
Your cell phone.
Yeah, my cell phone, my son, my where are my glasses? Gosh, if only I could see, I'd find my glasses, right? And so that's all going on. So the framework I'm looking at the world through is what I think is reality, but it's not. And that is probably one of the biggest epiphanies that helped me through all this, is just knowing I don't actually know. I call it being consciously incompetent, but knowing I don't know, right, is it opens me up to being able to receive information, to be able to see the world for what it may actually be as opposed to what I think it is. And that's how we start to adjust our mindsets, because your subconscious, which is where your mindset is stored, has been doing an incredible job of keeping you and me alive, right? But it's not really there to make things easy for us. It's not really there for us to have fun. It's not our friend. It is there to keep us alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's running the show based on what it knows and what it believes. And it's always right, according to the subconscious. And that's where that happens, is my subconscious believes I can't find my wallet. Back on that again. Let's shift now, though, to people. So the way we see people in the world, I bet all of you would say, oh, they're people. Well, that's because you were told they're people. That's right. But what do you actually believe? What do you actually believe about people? And that's a tough question. It takes a lot of thought, and I would argue writing some of this stuff out. But for example, you're in the grocery store and you've got to get 3 items and get out because you're late. Are those people in the grocery store, or are they people, or are they just things in your way? The woman with the cart in the middle of the aisle, the guy running around in your way because he's got his own agenda. The kid having fun, are they in your way? Are you looking for somebody who can help you, like a person who works in the store to tell you where something is, and they're not around? So now they're a problem because you can't find them. And
Right.
then when you finally find them, are you a little frustrated? So that happens, right? So when we're under stress, I think we can agree that people may become objects to us in the way, or a person that can help you. That'd be like a vehicle, somebody that can get something done, or the people across the store that are irrelevant until they get in your way or until they can help you. Has that happened? Has that ever happened for you, Jose? One of the kindest, gentlest people I know. Have you ever kind of felt that, even in a grocery store, where people were just in your way?
Absolutely. And the checkout line is a great place where that occurs to me all the time.
Yeah, you got like the person who doesn't have their wallet out, or the person that doesn't have. Unfortunately, sometimes people don't have enough money to pay for their groceries. And then am I frustrated with them, or do I just, offer to round out their bill? I've been there. Or do I just ask the cashier to go ahead and, just go ahead and store that and move them out of the way so I can check out because I'm in a hurry?
Right.
What about you? What's your biggest trigger where you start to objectify people?
Well, for me, I think it's, if anybody pulls out a check, I'm like, oh my God, it's 2024. Why are you pulling out a check? So that can be frustrating sometimes because I know it's going to take a minute.
Okay. Yeah. So that's that, right? They become an obstacle to you getting out of the store. And then, when I'm not in a hurry in the store, have you ever been there where it just didn't matter? Nothing mattered. You're like, oh, okay, cool. You're on the way. I would imagine, though, eventually, even though things don't matter, you can find something that brings it out. And that's what's amazing to me about it, is how quickly I can transition from thinking I see a person as a person to they're now a problem or an opportunity, or I forget about them because they don't really matter. And that's what's so difficult about this, because we are conscious, absolutely, when we're trying to work things out, we want them to be black and white. I either see people as people, or I see people as objects and I need to fix it. And the problem is it's both. It's just, what are we doing the majority of the time? I was I call it programmed, right? My subconscious was conditioned to see people as objects for most of my life. I mean, I even objectified my parents, right? They were a way for me to get my needs met. They if I was good, then they were nice to me. If I was bad, then they scolded me. So it became very transactional, and it became very objectifying, I would argue. The amount of effort I put into something didn't really matter, but whether I was successful is what mattered. Again, the outcomes, which is very objectifying. And so from childhood, I don't know how many of you had parents that did that. And I'm not saying my parents were bad. I had parents that I know loved me also, but those relationships can really condition us, right? To see people that way. And so let's run through some of those things. So I went in all the way. So we went from the stranger all the way to the family. Let's kind of play around in the mid zone. Let's talk about another place where I can end up very, very objectifying of people, and that is driving. Now, Jose knows my driving stories,
especially in DC.
Oh, I know. Being on the East Coast can truly get you into the box when it comes to people, and that term "in the box" comes from an organization that's probably done a lot of the most public work on this mindset area, which is the Arbinger Institute, right? And their book, Leadership and Self-Deception, is what clued me into all this. Because they really showed me how I was objectifying everybody. And I'll get back to that some more in a minute. But their term is in the box, right? When I'm in the box, it means I'm inward. I'm only seeing the world as, or people in this matter, how I am choosing to, or even projecting them, right? And so think about it. So even though I'm driving, I'm in the box, which is kind of scary if you think about it, because it means I don't really see the world. But I'm driving along, and I'm trying to get on the highway, and I'm trying to zipper in like a good person, but the car next to me that I'm about to come in front of speeds up. They did that on purpose, I'm sure. I mean, why would they speed? Why would you speed up, except to block me from getting on the highway, because I'm obviously getting in your way, right? And so, that frustrates me. And they're obviously a psychopath and a bad, and, not a person. Mm-hmm. So then I'm trying to get over, and I get on my turn signal. And, I'm working my way across, and I get all the way over to the left lane because I like to go fast. And there's a car in the left lane and doing, the speed limit. Mm-hmm. Now, we all know the rule, because everybody should know the rules. And so now I'm getting, they're in my way. And I'm trying to get around them. And then I get in the right lane to pass them, and they speed up. So they must be doing that on purpose, right? And it goes on, right? Somebody cuts me off. They did it on purpose, right? Or they're just, they're a terrible driver. Well, the truth of the matter is, in all those instances, it could be anything other than what I thought it was. But if I'm in the box, I'm only going to come to one or two solutions. Obviously, they're either doing it to hurt me, or they're a horrible driver. That's usually it. And I remember George Carlin, the comedian, a long time ago. He used to talk about everybody driving, right? They're either idiots or maniacs. The idiots are all driving too slow, and the maniacs are all driving too fast. And that's really powerful me in that, because that scenario, because I'll share an example with you. I was talking to a group of officers when we were discussing the very issue of traffic as a mindset issue and seeing people. And I had one of the guys that said, well, they were complaining about how people would get in like an exit lane, and they would pass everybody and then come back in, right? They're obviously getting over, they're passing traffic, they're being rude. So I said, what do you guys do about that? Do you let them in? What do you do? And they go, no, you speed up and you tighten up so they can't fit. Number one, that's in the end dangerous, okay? But number two, we had one guy in the room was like, wait, hold on. One time, so in the DC area, and you guys have all probably seen this in various places with express lanes, you have a ramp to get on the expressway. Well, in DC, there's no toll booths, right? You just have to have what's called an easy pass, a transponder. If you don't have one, you're getting tickets. And they're expensive. Yeah. And so this guy was new to the area. He was in that lane, and he was trying to get over, and he was trying to sequence in, trying to zipper in, trying to find a hole in the group. And people kept tightening up on him. And by the time he could do anything about it, he ended up having to stop in the on-ramp lane because he couldn't get in. And that just, the group was like, no, but see, that's mindset. They could not see any other reason for that. How many of you out there have had things like that happen with you, where you were sure that it was one thing? It was a person doing something in their own interest and not caring about you, that caused you to react in a way that probably wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jose. I mean, the driving one really is a great all-around example because of all the opportunities you have, people after people after people that you're interacting with, and each one's a new opportunity to be inward, just worried about my own needs, objectives, and challenges, or be outward. Understand that we all have needs, objectives, and challenges. Everybody on that road is going somewhere.
Yeah.
They do have a need. They have an objective, and some of them are challenged. Some of them aren't great drivers. Some of them are scared to be out there. Some of them are doing the best they can. Some don't know the rules, and unfortunately, that's maybe frustrating for me. But not everybody knows the left lane is for high speed traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, what are your thoughts, Jose? And then I'll dig more in.
Yeah. So over a few years, I was listening to self-help books and in the car and watching self-help videos, not in the car, of course, but I did learn about, the importance of, recognizing that those around me, had their own challenges and their own needs. And so I made an effort. I'm not always successful, but especially coming onto the on ramps, or I should say, driving by an on ramp and seeing people, try and pop in, making that effort to think to myself, hey, I can either be the guy in front of me who just kind of, zipped forward, in those occasions where I wasn't rushing, which was most of the time, because I mean, it was what it was. I was going to get home when I was going to get home. So letting the guy in front of me in, getting that little wave from the guy in front of you, I was like, you know what? I just, help that person get to where they were going to get to, safely, at least my little part of that. So I really do feel like I, gained a lot from learning that and from better understanding, that the world around me isn't always centered on me. And that has been an incredible lesson. Again, I'm not great at it. I don't always succeed at it, but I make an effort, and that's for sure.
That's powerful, Jose, because it is when you take somebody else into account and your impact on them, and yeah, I mean, the traffic thing is a big one for me too, because I mean, they've actually done studies on this. Mm-hmm. All that cost you was about 1 second.
Yes.
Of your life to let that person. Now the person like me that's fully in the box is like, yeah, but it cost me that 1 second, but then they're going to be in my way. They're going to slow down. They're going to be, etc. And so, again, what am I doing? I'm horribilizing that person in that car in front of me. I'm not seeing their humanity again. I'm just totally objectifying them and making them an obstacle in my life. And we tend to double down on that because our worldviews are important to us. Right? The frames, our mindsets are really important to us because they've kept us alive to this point. So we don't like to change them subconsciously. That's pretty scary for our subconscious. And so just, having that protective stance has worked theoretically, according to my subconscious, although I would argue that my relationships suffer for it. But it's kept me going, right? It's kept me alive according to my subconscious. So changing the way I'm seeing people is very scary for me. So I'll double down anytime that opportunity arises, right? To change the way I see them, my subconscious will fight me on that a little bit. And that's okay. Just like, no, you're okay. That is normal. In fact, our mindsets, I told you this started when I was a child, have been built up in my case, decades. And reinforced over and over and over again. So they're very powerful neural pathways. And so changing those neural pathways takes a lot of time and effort, but it's worthwhile. And I'll tell you why. That book, Leadership and Self-Deception, I mentioned. Somebody told me that I should read it because some of the things I was talking about were in line with that, and they thought I would enjoy it. And I really did. It's a business parable. It's about a guy that is very inward or very self-centered at work and doesn't understand how he's treating those around him, that he's treating them as objects and seeing them as objects. And I got all the way to the end of the book, and there was a part about how you change the way you see people. And I'd been going through that. I just didn't realize I was trying to change the way I was treating people, not how I was seeing them. See, in the 90s, I was pretty toxic. I was pretty angry and abrasive, and I was right all the time, and I was super smart, and that wasn't working for me. I didn't have any good relationships. I struggled with people. And so I said, okay, I got to be nicer to people. So I started trying to force myself to be nice to them. I call it white knuckling. Even though I thought you were an idiot, or I didn't like you, or thought you were a problem or an object, or somebody that I could use in order to, get a job or whatever. I was like, I got to be nice to you. So I tried to change the way I was treating people, but it's almost impossible to change the way you treat people without changing the way you see them. And so I was failing at it. I mean, I'd gone years trying to trying to be nice to people. And in the back of the book where they talked about how you change this, they said you can't behave your way out of it. You have to change the way you're seeing the situation, seeing the people. And I tell you what, that was like the 7th level of hell in a good way. I've been trying so hard for so many years and failing. And it was simply because I didn't just relent. I didn't stop resisting everybody around me and start seeing them for who they are as human beings. And for anybody going through that's tragic, honestly, because we miss so much about the beauty of human life in our universe, honestly. And I tell you what, it's lonely, Jose.
Yeah.
When everybody around you is irritating or lazy or a superstar, right, that you want to just latch onto, whatever. That's totally, for me, missing the sweet spot of life, which is human connection.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm so passionate about particularly my people mindset and the struggle they're in, because I still lose it when I'm driving. I still get focused in the grocery store. I still get frustrated with people in my family at times. And that's part of me being human and working to overcome it. But boy, when I'm really in the moment and really connected to them and not worried about, what they're doing right or wrong, or how things are going, or even how they're treating me at times, because they're going to have bad days, right? It totally changes everything.
Yeah.
In fact,
absolutely.
Go ahead. Jose.
No, go ahead, please. I was just saying absolutely.
Well, it amazes me how when I'm expecting you to treat me poorly because I'm obviously in the box with you or at odds with you, then no matter what you do, I'm going to find that you're treating me poorly. I'm going to find that you're doing, if you do something nice for me, you're just trying to manipulate me. What do you want? What are you trying to do? Right. And so that's what's amazing is when I'm inward or in the box with a person, they can say something to me like, "Hey, Matt, what a nice day outside." And I'll be like, "Why are you talking to me? What are you trying to get? What? Okay, you're teeing something up. You're about ready to hit me with a zinger." Right? But then I can walk over to somebody who I'm not in that place with, and they can say, "Matt, what a nice day outside." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Oh yeah, what a nice day." It's the same statement from two different people, but it's how I'm regarding them and how I'm coloring what they're doing with me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that person that I've got a problem with isn't a problem. It doesn't mean that they're not in the box. It doesn't mean anything. But it is how I'm coloring a simple statement. And that's that to me is tragic, because I mean I'm missing an opportunity, because if it's a person that I know and I'm working with them, whether it be in my family or at a job, if I'm at odds with them, am I doing as good as I could be doing? Am I performing as well? Who's suffering for that? I think a lot of people. I'm suffering because I'm miserable because of the way I'm interpreting that person. They're probably suffering because they're picking up on how I'm seeing them. And then our work is probably not nearly as good. So that means the business is suffering. Our coworkers are suffering. Our customers are suffering, all because I'm choosing to see a person a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And that is deeply unfortunate. I think a lot of us, I know my defense mechanism is, oh, I don't really do that. The people I see that are problems. But are they really? That's my question for everybody is question that. Don't, I always say start, the further out you can start, the better. Like driving. That person you think's a problem, really take a look and see if they're a problem, right? Work on people in those short interactions, because they're the clearest view you're going to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to overcome years of objectifying people that, like family members, and being objectified by them, and everybody's in the box. And pretty soon, we're all objectifying each other, which just gets us into what we call, Arbinger uses the term collusion, because collusion by definition is basically people working together in a secret manner towards some nefarious outcome, right? That's basically what collusion is. Well, if you think about it, if I'm in the box and I'm treating people horribly because I see them as objects, and people are treating me badly because they see me as an object, we're probably going to feed on that. And it's just going to go round and round and round and round. And it's probably not going to end well. But we both aren't able to even see what's happening. So it's secret, and it's heading towards a nefarious outcome. So that's why they use the term collusion. And those are harder to overcome and see. Mm-hmm. So starting externally and work your way in is the best way to do that. If you can start with your family, that's great. It's such a sore spot in many cases. If I have problems in a relationship, resetting that view can be difficult. I absolutely recommend it. It is the best place. Yeah. But it's the hardest.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, I think those relationships that are deepest are those relationships that we may want to work on the quickest, because they're the ones that might matter to us the most.
That's beautiful. I like that part about the quickest, because the deeper the relationship, the longer the process will take. And we really have to be in for it. And so I always say practice externally first, kind of get the feel for reframing and seeing people differently, so that then when you're working with your relationships, it's a little bit easier, right? Because we got to work on ourselves first. Yeah. And then the other thing that's difficult is again, those people in my life that are a problem. Seeing them as something else can be, again, very difficult for our subconscious and therefore our conscious. But the why also is very important. Why do I want to see people as people? Do I want to see people as people so that I can better achieve? Do I want to see people as people because I want them to see me as a person? Do I want them to treat me better? So now it becomes about treatment and not actually seeing people. So let's say I'm in the box with Jose, and he and I have got some challenges, and I decide I'm going to see Jose as a person today. That's wonderful. So, I'm talking to Jose. Hey, Jose, how you doing? But we've had problems. Well, remember that guy that said hi to me that I told you about? That I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
How would you feel if I'd been a problem for you, Jose, and I came up to you and started treating you nicer? Sorry.
That's okay.
Started treating you nicer, or if I showed interest in you, in your hobbies, or interest in your work, what might that do for you?
Yeah, I think the initial reaction would be like, what's this guy up to? What's going on? What's his angle? Initially, if you had treated me poorly for a long time.
Right. Or if you'd felt even like I treated you poorly.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's the challenge. So that means, see, this is the slick spot here, right? So that means if I change the way I'm treating Jose, and maybe even trying to see Jose, we'll even say that I'm really, really, really working to see him as a person today, and Jose feels uncomfortable and reacts in a way that I see as negative, that's immediate justification for me. See, I tried.
Mm-hmm.
He is a bad person. He is a problem, which Jose is absolutely not. If anybody ever has a problem with Jose, they definitely need to check their mindset. But and that's why I use you as an example. But that's absolutely the problem with doing it and making it about others. You have to make how I'm seeing people about yourself being with others and seeing others. So it's a little bit of a paradox, because to be outward in my book, to be able to see people as people, we have to focus on ourselves initially and how we're seeing people, but then transition out of focusing on ourselves to seeing them. So it's a stepping off point, but you can't stay there, because what happens is, let's say I'm successful and I see Jose as a person, and then I get excited about how I'm seeing Jose as a person. Well, I'm back to focusing on me again. And Jose has actually become an object that I've worked so hard to see as a person, instead of Jose as a person that I see as a person. And that's what bakes my brain in this stuff. I used to, when I went through the training with Arbinger, because they do workshops on this, I literally, so they talk about getting out of the box. So I drew pictures of me jumping out of a box and landing in bigger boxes, jumping out of that box and landing in another box. And that's what's hard about change in this, is my subconscious is always going to try to get me back in that. It's going to try to get me back in that mindset. And it can be tricky. And that's why, again, I say start with those relationships that are far out, because it's a lot easier to see that stuff. Yeah. And you won't get tricked back in. Whereas if I went to my, somebody I was a family member that I'm in conflict with, it's just going to take a few bad interactions to justify me going right back to, see, they're actually, they are the problem. Yeah. It's not me. Yeah. Now on the flip side of all this is the majority of the problem people in my life are simply because I see them as problems. There just aren't that many people out to get me. It's true. And usually by seeing them as problems, I invite them to be problems. So it's an opportunity. Change the way you're seeing people and see what you invite them to do. Just like how many of you have been in a bad mood and noticed other people around you getting into a bad mood? How many of you have seen people that were excited or happy and you felt yourself getting excited or happy? The way we're regarding the energy flow, if we will, but the way we're regarding those around us is contagious. So if I see you as a person, you're only going to be able to hold out for so long. But I have to actually see you as a person. Yeah. That's the hard part. For me, not Jose, I think does a pretty good job. I've been, going back to the 90s, within the first 30 seconds I met you, you were either dead to me or valuable. I mean, that's how bad it was for me. And it's been a long struggle. People in my lives that I've been able to be outward with or see of people have been great examples for me to use. In fact, I'll do that if I'm struggling with somebody. One of the things, because this is learn, grow. So we're growing a little bit in this, and some do. So here's some do. Let's try that. One is great for email and texts are perfect for practicing this because they're not in real time, right? You can actually process and take a moment. So you don't have to give your instantaneous reaction like we do in a give and take conversation. So think about that person that irritates you, right? That you're in the box with, that's a problem, whatever, right? A coworker that's either always asking questions or not doing their job. Find that person, right? And then the next email or text you get from them, take a moment and change the name of the person that sent it. So you got problem person over here. In my case, it's Jose. And so I'm going to change it to, my buddy Annie, right? Okay, this is from Annie, not Jose. And then I'm going to read it, and I'm just going to keep reminding myself that this is from Annie. I promise you that if you do that, if you switch to somebody that you feel really good about, that you feel connected as a person to, that you have that relationship with, it will read differently every time. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is have somebody who isn't in conflict with this person, or doesn't see this person as a problem or challenge, who sees them in a different light, maybe as a person. Have them read it and tell you what they think it says. And then respond to it after that.
Yeah.
And respond to it as if you're responding to that person that you don't have the conflict with, or listen to what your friend tells you should say and work that out. You'll be amazing.
Yeah.
You'll be
So
amazing.
I shouldn't write this, right?
Yeah. Per my last email. That kid, right? Yeah.
No bueno. No bueno.
Yeah. You also probably definitely don't want to respond with all your vitriol about why they're sucking the life out of you either. I've done that. Doesn't help. Guess what you get? Guess what? When you respond in the box, if I'm in the box and I respond to that person from that inward perspective of they're a problem and I have my needs, objectives, and challenges, do you think that is more or less likely to invite them to change the way they're seeing me?
Oh, it will. Yeah, absolutely. It'll invite them.
Absolutely. If I respond in a negative manner to this person, they're going to just give me more of what I'm giving.
Yeah.
So if I respond in a way seeing them as a person, right, and understanding they have needs, objectives, and challenges, then that's going to present the opportunity for them. Now, will they change? You can't control that.
Yeah.
But I can almost guarantee that they will not change if I don't change the way I'm seeing them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's the part that you guys are just not going to like me for, right? I always say that if we're ignorant to things, okay, we kind of, things go the way they go. But when we know what we can do to solve something and the other person doesn't, who has the obligation to try? That's right, I do.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to see people as people, that's my challenge for you. Really question how you're seeing people, everyone across the board. Certainly internally question it. I absolutely don't say, don't change the way you're treating your family. No, absolutely change the way you're treating your family. I'm just telling you that is a tougher area to work on because of all of the backstory that's reinforcing those views. And so it can be a minefield.
Yeah.
But absolutely, if you're up to it, go for it. Yeah. Just reduce or limit your expectations of them.
Mm-hmm.
Have all your expectations for yourself and how you're going to see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just let them be people.
Man, I appreciate that, Matt. I mean, this is just an amazing discussion we're having. And I think it's so incredibly important because, we do in many cases, and I can't speak for everyone. I should say I do. That's important. I do find myself in positions where I have to choose between, seeing someone as a person and seeing them as an obstacle, as an object in my way. And I need to do better. And others might feel the same way who are watching. We need to do better at it because, it changes the dynamic. And by the way, it's a benefit to all of us, right? I mean, if I see people as people, it's a good thing.
I mean, that's what's amazing to me, right? And I drive people nuts sometimes on this because I'm very particular about how you treat people. If I go in and treat people nice because I want to get something,
right,
the treatment's still the same if I go in and treat people nice because I want to connect with them.
yes,
But the energy behind both of those are astronomically different. And people may not initially pick it up, but as a relationship grows, they do, right? One's transactional, one's objectifying, one is about being with people. Now, the thing is, if I go and treat somebody nice because I want to connect with them, good things will come from that. But I can't do it for the good things. I have to do it for the relationship. Mm-hmm. And that is really hard to grasp. I'm sorry. If I'm sure we all can go, oh, no, that's really simple. To me, it's actually really like way out there, like hard to, because I always have trouble. I always stumble on this part because I know at the core of my being that it's completely different. Mm-hmm. And think about it at work now, right? Or in family. If I'm treating everybody like they matter, like I matter, they don't matter more, they don't matter less. And I mean in aggregate. I mean, sometimes I'm going to give you a little bit more attention. Sometimes you're going to give me a little bit of attention, right? But I'm not going to fall down dead at work because everybody around me matters more than I do, right? I'm going to ask for help when I need it. I'm going to give help when I can. And so, but if they all matter like I matter as a human being around me, the word synergy just absolutely comes to mind for me. Everything falls into place, mm-hmm. and we can start to actually see what other people need even before they know it. And that's another indicator when I'm in a place is if I might come across a piece of information that you need to know, Jose. Maybe I saw something on LinkedIn about the algorithm or something else, right? And I'm like, oh, Jose needs to know this. Okay, so that's my initial thought. I saw Jose. Jose's a person. He needs to know this. Now I can, according to Arbinger, I can honor or betray that. Honoring it means that I follow through in some form, right? Whether it is, if it's right now because I can, if it's later. If it's I make sure that he does know, right? Whatever. I don't actually have to. It's not about doing the thing. It's about honoring that he needs to know this and I realize this. Or I can betray it, which is the area I want to focus on. That means I find reasons not to share that information with Jose. Right? So I had the initial thought and now I start justifying why. Maybe it's Jose's job. He should know that. Or or Jose knows, every time I tell Jose something, he makes me feel stupid, right? So I'm still justifying, right? Because I still needed to tell him. But so I have all these different ways of feeling either less than or more important than Jose. And eventually I betray the thought. I don't share the information.
Yeah.
And that's practice that out in the world when you think somebody needs to do this. And I've had it happen. I betrayed myself. I was shoveling snow a couple of years back, and these old people were having some trouble getting up the hill in their car. And I said, oh, I should go help them. And then I'm like, I got to get the snow shoveled. I started justifying. So I betrayed that thought. And it became a problem as they got stuck while the snowplow was trying to plow. And so finally, by the time I did what I said I was going to do, and this is also important, I was still I was in the box, I was inward, and I was rude to them for being so ignorant as to try to get up this hill when it was impossible. And so I helped them. I helped them back out and do stuff, but I did it from an inward place. Mm-hmm. And so I still didn't do them any good. If I would have just honored that initial thought.
Yeah.
So that's one of my examples I used to remind myself. And my wife helped me see it. I even had to go in and complain about it. And then she said, that sounds like you're a little bit inward. And I love the way she did that. She didn't tell me I was being this. She didn't call me something. She just said, it sounds like you might be that. And we can often see this in other people. And so if you think you see it in somebody, don't accuse them of it. just ask them, hey, are you seeing this situation for what it is? Are you seeing these people as a person, or are you frustrated and because they're either a problem or something else?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Matt, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I definitely want to honor everybody's time because it's
yeah,
likely their lunchtime. So I don't want to cut you short, but I definitely want to ask you if you would like to summarize, what we've talked about today and point people in the right direction about how they can learn more and be a part of this discussion.
yeah, absolutely, Jose. That's I was in sync with you. And so a couple things. I told you guys about changing focus, moving from we to me. That's our flagship program. That'll help you begin addressing, identifying who you are for you. For those of you leaving the military community in some form, veterans, retirees, or even people on active duty getting ready to transition out, their spouses and family members, Gold Star members can all participate in that. So our registration's up there, takes you to the LTI webpage. It's a 4-day program, and it's honestly, I think anybody that's been in the military for more than 3 to 5 years should go through the program, because it's an incredible way of figuring out who you are, while the military has been telling you who you were for so long. So great program. It's 24 hours over 4 days, Thursday night, Friday all day, Saturday all day, and half day Sunday. We do it once a month. The next session will be in September, but you'll see that on our website. So please register. It's completely free except for your time. You actually get to play with Legos and do some other things that are pretty cool. Your transition.
Hey, Matt, before we move on, let me just ask everyone to do a quick screenshot and a reminder that Bitly is very particular about capitalization. So please put the CF in capital letters. We figured out earlier, if you put them in lowercase, it takes you somewhere else. So, uppercase works. Do a quick screenshot. Hold on.
So, yep.
Okay, great screenshot.
So exactly how it's on the screen. Yeah, type it in exactly how it's on the screen. Bless their heart. I mean, it's the only way you're going to shrink a web address, though, I think. So thank you for that. The other thing that goes with this, I told you guys about Arbinger, and you can certainly go to arbinger.com and look them up. And they're a great organization, and they have all kinds of resources, and that they charge for, and that's fine, right? It's a business. Or if you're an alumni of Changing Focus or registered for Changing Focus, we have a free book study that we're doing starting July 1st. And it's for the month of July. It's 5 weeks. It'll be Monday nights, Eastern Standard Time, 8 to 9:15, I think, or 8 to 9 p.m., where you will be expected to have read the book because it's a book study. And we will discuss in depth everything that we learned from the book. And again, it's for alumni or future alumni. If you're scheduled for a We to Me, then you're perfectly fine to sign up for it. I cannot stress this enough. This changed my life. And I think my wife would tell you it changed her life. And my children would tell you it changed their lives. And my grandchildren would tell you it changed their lives. My coworkers, I've got plenty of them that have told me it changed their lives, simply because I changed and started seeing people like people. So do you have the link for the alumni people mindset?
Yep, people mindset. There it is.
There we go. Yeah. So take a screenshot of that.
Yep.
And again, as long as you're an alum or registered for a cohort, we will get you into this. It starts Monday next week.
This Monday.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
So
you got time.
You got time. The book is like a 4.5-hour read, and our first session is really getting us into it. So please, we'd love to see you. That's everything I have about that. That's all I have to say about that.
I appreciate it, Matt. Thank you so much. I'm dropping the Leader Transition Institute.org website as well. Feel free to go by there and take a closer look at our organization, what we do, why we do what we do, and of course, inevitably, there are tabs to look a little closer at the Changing Focus program. And again, I'll pop in the people mindset. It's an amazing discussion forum with amazing people who are around you looking to be better, internally and make the changes to connect with the people around them. So I highly encourage you to do that as well.